There's been a couple of clear seeing moments today. Um, I was getting annoyed because I couldn't see a couple of things. I was getting annoyed because there was just massive frustration, this frustration, and then just even the realization that that's just expecting things to be different than they are,
Mm.
so that came up this morning, and then there was another one. I was just getting loads of sticky thoughts. And that way when you're in a sticky loop, there's something there.
Mm.
It's been going on for a couple of weeks around like teaching. Like I love to teach and I find this subject fascinating, and I was going around this loop, like you can't teach, you're not there yet, you can't teach, you're not cooked. But I want to teach the meditation, or I want to teach something. And I just kept going round and round and round, and then today I just seen I had to unpack it a bit. But there's the one who wants to have seen. There's a bit of identity to that, and there's also the one who needs to understand to feel relaxed, so there was all this frustration about no understanding and not quite being there. So there was a few yeah, just a couple of things seen today. So I'm bloody tired now.
Yeah.
Tired. Today I was like, I'll go on the call. It's
Yeah.
always mm. So it's been interesting.
So what? One of the things I find is that, say, I don't like to call it teaching, but I can point out things that I know, and yet sometimes I don't experience them in the way that I can point them out. So it seems to me that you don't have to be perfect because there'll be people that know less than you or have not had the experiences that you've had, and you'll be very helpful to them. And as part of that being helpful, you'll discover things for yourself.
Mm. Mm.
So there is no landing place. There's no finish line. There is no
Mm.
certificate here that says you can
Yeah.
do it. Mhm. You know all of this, don't you?
No, I still had to do a bit of digging because it was just sticky for me, and I knew I had to look at it a bit. Like I think it was maybe a year ago or something. I had to go through the whole, specialness. There was a specialness there. I was looking at that, and
Mm.
that was a bit of an emotional move through that one. Um, but this one, I think, and I was like, why do I need to teach? Why do I need to teach? But then I realised that's just a pattern that I've done all my life anyway. I learn something, then I teach it,
Yeah,
and usually try and make it into a business. Is
yeah,
what I've done in the past. I'm like, so that's just
exactly. Yeah,
a
me
pattern.
too.
Mm,
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. So when I mean, it's a gross way to put it, but you'll know what I mean. When you know something and it's good, you want to share it.
mm.
That's just that's a natural thing, I think. It's certainly part of my personality, and it sounds like it's part of yours as well.
It definitely is. I think I just had to dig into the difference between that being the personality and having an attachment to, the one who wants to have seen, the one who wants to have understood.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
I had to
yeah.
sort of tear that apart in
That's
order
right.
to
Yeah.
to feel okay about it. And I find that tricky.
Well, that's right. It is tricky, isn't it? It's a bit of a trap to feeling special again.
Mm, mm,
Yeah. One of the hardest things I find to get across to people is that whatever turns up, it's okay. Well, not only is it okay, it's better than okay. Whatever turns up is fantastic. No matter what it is, doesn't matter whether it's pleasant or unpleasant, whether it's whatever. So, for example, when you had that frustration,
Mm.
it's sure as hell trying to show you something. It's an opportunity. Now, you can get lost in the frustration itself and stories about what that means, or you can go, what actually is it I'm experiencing? What is it that I'm calling frustration? And you immediately look into your body for the sensations. Because have you heard me tell that story about if the tree falls in the forest and there's no one there, is there a sound?
Mm.
Have you heard that story?
Yeah.
Yeah. So you know that the end result is that the sound is something that your brain makes out of the signals that come in through your ears, that until the ears pick up the vibrating air, there is no sound. And when the ear picks up the vibrating air, it sends a nerve signal eventually up to the brain, and the brain deciphers that nerve signal and gives you the experience of sound, because it happens in the sound center of the brain, if you like, in the hearing center, right? So that that is internal to you, just as all of your senses produce a nerve signal that goes to your brain, which you then get an experience of. And part of the brain being the way it is, it's so fantastic that it will project a sound, it will project a sight, it will project it out there, and you will immediately think, oh, that's where it came from. But it didn't, it happened in your brain. All of your senses are experienced because of the experience that your brain gives you as a result of the interpretation of the information that comes in through the senses. And guess what? Your thoughts, your mind is exactly the same as the other senses in that it's interpreted by the brain and gives you an experience. So there's no part of the world or the person or any other people or anything that is experienced outside of you. It's all experienced as a result of your senses being stimulated in the brain. So it's all you. Everybody and everything, the whole world
Mm.
is your interpretation that happens in your brain. And your brain is conditioned by history, by experience, and by what you know, what you believe, all of that kind of stuff. So when you're feeling frustrated, if you look at the sensations, they're just sensations. If you look at what they mean, then you've got this incredible second arrow anguish that comes from frustration. I don't want it. I want clarity. I don't want to be frustrated. I want something that's different to this. And
Mhm.
that's all as a result of the story, which is the mind sense, if you like, doing its thing. And when we realize that, we go, oh, frustration. Now, hang on. What's frustration? What am I experiencing? Where am I experiencing it? What does it feel like? And then the stories drop off, the meaning that we give it, they drop off, and we're left with just sensations. And that changes things.
Mm.
So frustration is wanting something and not being able to get it. And we don't even know what it is we want.
Mm.
Yeah. Yeah. So whatever turns up, anything, good, bad, indifferent, doesn't matter what it is. It's just perfect. It is there for you to process.
Mm.
It's just couldn't be better. It's perfect. Yeah. And the old story, the old way, the way we've been conditioned, the way we've been brainwashed, if you like, is to want something different,
Mm.
which is just the mind sense spiraling off into stories about how it could be, all sorts of things. Yeah. And that's what we want to short circuit. And when it's happening, that's also okay. When we realize it's happening, that's when it changes. Not when we fight it, not when we try and change it, not when we push it away. Just seeing it happen, accepting it, and that's what changes it.
On this journey though of the, you know, awakening, it just adds another layer. Or maybe it's just a different story. Instead of me saying I'm frustrated, I want to get somewhere, it's there's the added dimension on there of you now saying there's a me in there who wants something. It's not just me that wants something, there's a self in there
Yeah, yeah,
wanting
yeah. Well, that's
something.
that's that's interesting, isn't it? And there is, but it's not a real actual self. It's not a tangible self. It's a concept of self that is generated by the story of wanting something. If you want something, who wants it? And so you actually create the I, the identification, you create that at that moment. Until you create it, it doesn't exist. It's interesting is when you're busy with something, you're absorbed in something, whatever it is, you're totally involved in it. And you might say that some of your other senses are fully occupying your attention. There is no self. But the moment you want something different, you create that self.
Yeah. Which then there's disappointment. Like there's still a self in you, or there's still selfing happening, and
Yeah, yeah,
you just
yeah. Now, one of the things I suspect is happening for you a bit is that you know stuff, but your nervous system hasn't caught up yet. And that's kind of a bit cliche to say it like that, but essentially it can take many repetitions before your habitual responses change as a result of what you know. So you can have a big shift. You can have an aha moment, a realization about something, and the next thing it's as if it didn't happen because your nervous system doesn't know what you know. It's going to take a while to catch up, and that's a big one that people don't realize. It's a
it's
case of,
annoying.
yeah, well, of course it's annoying, yeah, because we say, well, I don't want it. Oh, hang on, I don't want it. I want,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And when you laugh at that, that's a perfect indication that you know what I'm talking about.
Mm.
It's exactly part of your experience. So, of course, so when the nervous system shows you that it's still reacting in the old way, the only thing to do with it is to go, isn't that interesting? It's
Mm.
still there. I know, like I was writing a story about distance today, and it's a classic one. It's brilliant, like you take a picture on a wall of a road that's going off into the distance, this road, and at the bottom of the picture, the road starts wide, and halfway up the picture where the road hits the horizon, it's gone to a really narrow point, right? So this is perspective, and you can see that road's going. But when you recognize that this is a picture of a road going off into the distance, the point where it's really narrow and the point where it's really wide are exactly the same distance away from your eyes. And when you look at a real road, you stand on a real road and watch it go off to the horizon or whatever, it does the same thing. It gets narrower up there and it's really wide in front of you. And you think, but hang on, in the real world, there is actual distance. But that distance doesn't isn't shown by the eyes. The eye sees what the eye sees. The eye sees color and it sees shape. It's the brain that puts the meaning of it on that says there is distance and that it does that perspective thing because it's a long way away. But that's a concept that's overlaid to what's seen. So what the eye sees in the real world is exactly the same as what the eye sees when it's looking at a picture of a road going a long way away, right? And so the 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 light hitting the eye may have traveled, but it still hits the eye in the same place, whether you're looking at far away or looking at close, right? So there's no actual distance. It's created by the brain. Now, here's a really interesting thing. We don't want a two-dimensional world to live in. We couldn't do it. We couldn't drive a car. We couldn't go anywhere. So there's a kind of an obvious paradox with that. And one of them is that we know at some level, intellectual level, and we may have physical experience of that two-dimensional thing in flashes, but we know that the reality is that distance is created by the brain, and that's an illusion. But it's a very useful illusion. We'd be in trouble without it, right? Well, when your nervous system turns up with frustration, and you go, well, I know there's no reason for it to be there, but here it is. You live with it in the same way you live with the illusion of distance or the illusion of a sense of an eye. You go, oh, it feels like there's somebody here running the show. I know it's not the case, but it feels like there is. You live with that. You just live with it. You know it's an illusion. So the whole thing is it's doing that reminding thing that allows the nervous system to let go and catch up with what you know. It'll stop presenting you with such a strong illusion, or it'll come with the label of it, an illusion. You'll know it's an illusion. But when it comes to the distant stuff, well, you're not even interested in the label. If you think about it, you know it's an illusion. But as far as practical, everyday thing, you live in it. You walk along a distance. You use distance all the time. There's a distance between me and the screen in front of me. It's useful. But I know it's an illusion. The stuff over there and the stuff here, the stuff further away and the stuff close up, doesn't actually have distance as far as the eyes are concerned. It's the brain that creates the illusion of distance. And yet I can get out and I can get a tape measure and I can measure how far away that wall is. It's an interesting thing, isn't it? That paradox. But there it is. That's real. So when the nervous system says there's an eye here or I'm frustrated or any of that kind of stuff, you just laugh at it. It's hilarious. Or it's interesting, curious. Yeah. It doesn't mean you're not there yet. It doesn't mean anything like that. It doesn't mean you don't know about this stuff. It's just it can take a while. It can take years for the nervous system to let go of some things. But this thing of when do I know enough to be able to teach? Well, it's when you know more than the student. That's all. When you can see the student is lost in a concept or an illusion, you might be able to point it out how it's the case, what is actually happening. That's all. You're never going to get teacher tattooed on your forehead. It doesn't work like that. Yeah. I hope that's helpful stuff for you. I tend to get up on my soapbox a bit.
No, it's good.
Yeah.
Um, mm.
Yeah. I get, just for the sake of me wanting to say this, that the reason I don't like the idea of teaching is because teaching in kind of a traditional sense just involves a transfer of knowledge, imparting knowledge. And so with this stuff, really what we want to happen is we want the quote student, the seeker or whoever, to discover things. There's no
Mm.
point in just giving them knowledge unless that knowledge helps them to discover something. So we really want to impart an experience, even though we're going to use words to do that, which makes it hard.
Listen, I think sometimes, that can be it gets me sticky again because I'm always like, well, you have the initial seeing through self, yeah, and then you go through phases and you have these little glimpses. Um, but really, ultimately, how I experience the world hasn't changed.
Mm,
So it's more I've now had this shift in experience, is what I guess it's what this self is chasing.
mm. Yeah, what comes to mind is that a lot of people have a lot of little experiences which they discount. They don't give it the credit that it's good value for them to do because they say, well, it's not a big enough experience. It's not a big enough shift. So there can be a lot of really little ones. And one of the things that I've discovered is that a lot of those discoveries, I'll backtrack a little bit. One of the things with this waking up stuff is that we're discovering a reality, if you like, that is beyond words. It's beyond a narrative. And and so when we have those little shifts, they're frequently what you might describe as direct experience. That is, their experience that doesn't attract a story about it. And
Mm,
so the consequence of that is that it doesn't get put into memory. It's almost mandatory that we have to have a story about something in order to be able to remember it.
mm,
So we can have people can have a lot of little shifts that they don't realize are shifts and they don't remember them. And so they say, no, things haven't changed. But when we look at what's been your life experience now compared to what it was a year ago or 2 years ago or whatever, they go, oh, you know what? I don't think I suffer as much as I used to. I don't get as angry as I used to. I don't, they realize that things have changed when they look back. But it's not, they won't ever say, oh, I had a big epiphany and all of a sudden things were different. That
mm,
rarely happens. And when it does, I would put money on it that it'll be either minutes, hours, days, weeks, or even a year. Occasionally, it'll be a year or even more than a year. I have known one to last 2 years, but most of them would be last at most months before doubts turn up, and people will go, "I had it and I lost it, and I want to get back to it."
mm,
And that's the very reason why they have trouble getting back to it because they want to get back to it, and they go chasing it. And so a big epiphany is not worth much. It's a lovely experience, there's no doubt about that, but it's not worth much in the long term because their nervous system has still got to catch up. Even if they have a honeymoon period, it always ends.
mm.
So forget the big epiphany. It's not worth the paper it's written on, so to speak. That was a funny way to put it, but yeah, yeah.
I get confused with all the other terms as well, though. There's the seeing through self, and there's stream entry, and there's the fetters, and da da da. But then there's Satori or Kensho, where there's no inside outside, you had it yourself,
Mm.
you
Yeah, but
know.
again, they're just experiences, and what are they worth? What
Did
is
that
any
not change?
experience
Did that
worth?
not change how you experienced life afterwards? Is that what you're talking about? The honeymoon period was after your.
Yeah, they do. They do. It depends a lot on the nature of them, as whether or not they can usher in. What they're likely to do is take away a level of certainty, a level of they'll induce a flexibility that will allow you to be more open to a different way of perceiving things. Right? But again, it is a case of staying with that and being okay about that when it's not there until it is there.
Mm.
Right. So again, so a lot of those terms, they come out of Buddhism or Zen or whatever. Um, they're kind of wrapped in a religion, as I see it. They're kind of they're they're what we would use to prove that we've got something. And the way I see this is not a spiritual journey. This is a human journey. So what we're about is letting go of the spiraling off into stories that create suffering. And part of that is to recognize the way things really work instead of believing stories about how they work. I mean, all your life you were told, work harder to get something.
Mm.
You know? Well, that works at that level, but this goes beyond that level. You would see. I do this with my wife. I describe this. I'll say I'm going to work. When I come to these groups, but it's not work for me at all.
Mm.
But it's the way she understands it as work. And then she says, "Well, you're not getting paid, so it's not work." Right? But we've got this idea about the meaning for it. And I don't expect her to understand what it means for me because I don't know what it means for me. I can't really say if I've examined it. Why do I do this? And in the end I've got to say, I don't know. I can create a list of things that are good about it, but none of them really say I do this because. I do this because I do this. Is as close as I can get to reality, to a good description of it. I have no idea why I do it. I feel good about it. I do get good feelings, and maybe we could say that's the reason I do it. But it sounds like a story when I say that, and I don't need that story to do it. I don't think to myself, I'm going to go to a group now and I'm going to feel good about it, and that's why I'm going to the group. It's much more, in actual fact, it's much more that I'll come to the group because it's 10 o'clock and it's time for the group to start. Yeah. It's kind of crazy stuff, but yeah. So stories, we can look at everything that I do from a perspective of a story, and we can say that's what it means and that's why and all that kind of stuff. But that feels like an overlay to me. It doesn't feel like it's got anything to do with the actual what goes on. And it's the same thing with you, I suspect. When you say, is there an I here? Somewhere deep down, there's no I. You can say, well, I, I was selfing. I feel like there was an I. But is that just a description of what was actually going on? Is it a good description of what was actually going on? Or is it just a story about what was going on?
So even my realization that there's a me in there looking for something is another story.
That's a story, absolutely. So how would you experience that? You would say I feel an urge to discover. Well, that's also just a story, but it gets closer to an experience that you're having, eh? When you say that. Can you can you feel in your body that wanting something? You don't have to define them, but and you don't even have to, know even have get close to what that something is because you don't know. You see, you haven't experienced that something that you want, so you've only got a fantasy about what it is. But you know it's something. And so what we come back to is what's the feeling in the body of that we won't even call it desire, but it kind of gets a little bit close. There's a urge somewhere, isn't there,
Yeah,
for something? Yeah. So where do you experience that? Is that in your fingertips, in your feet, in
my
your head,
chest.
in your
Mm.
chest? Yeah, that's usually where we want from the chest, doesn't it? Isn't it? Yeah. 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 So when you look at that sensation, if you look at it really closely, when we get beyond labels, you would say, well, I'll start with the chest area, but really it's kind of a more is it in the center or is it a high or low in the chest? Or is it, so in the end we get to, it's just here. Here it is. And it feels, oh, I can't really describe it. It just feels like it's just this. Oh, and then you can kind of wonder, is it moving? Is it getting bigger and smaller or shifting? Has it got a color? Would you give it a color? Would you give it a feeling of heaviness or lightness or sharpness or dull? You look beyond what you can describe at the real subtle details of this wanting. What is this wanting? And when you get down to that level, the stories are gone. It's just a sensation. It's not even a sensation. It is just sensationing happening. Yeah.
And here I thought I had some realizations. Oh dear. You have a
Mm.
realization, tell myself a story that I understand what it is. The nervous system calms down,
Yeah.
yada yada, yeah.
Yeah. We do. We're so good at that because we've been doing it all our life. Yeah. Yeah. And of course, when you're in that sensation, there's nothing else. There's no,
Mm.
the rest of your body doesn't exist. You're not thinking of your big toe and your right foot. You're not thinking of your ear. You are that sensation and the complexity of that sensation and the amazement that that sensation is awesome. That sensation when you get at that level. And there's exactly at that level, there is no self, there is no anything else because there's no story. In order to have a self, you have to have a story.
Mm.
But the stories come back as soon as you're not doing that. They're there. Well, isn't that interesting? Yeah. Mm. How are you, David? David?
Hi, Vince.
Hi. Yeah, I'm
Yeah,
glad
for
you
me,
got
it's
here now.
like,
Yeah.
yeah, for me, it's like the body, for me, it's always been with shame. It's like the body activates. It's like there is like a rod that gets hot. It's like the spine lights up and it feels very activated when, for example, I'm interacting with someone whose judgment I fear. Is someone, for example, my dad or some person that is above me, my boss. There is
Yeah.
always like the body lights up here. Usually, it's like the spine. My spine gets more sensitive, more.
Yeah.
I don't know. And I tried to look at it as close as possible. There is a component to this reaction of the body that is not pleasurable. Like I know that in the Buddhist tradition, they divide these kind of reactions in pleasurable, not pleasurable. I can't see. I try to look very close, but it's so close to the sensation, the fact that it's pleasurable, not pleasurable, it's so close that I can't distinguish it. I can't separate it.
Yeah,
And
that's
I
good.
can't,
Good. Yeah.
it's not clear if it is a physical sensation, the pleasurable, not pleasurable, or if it's still the mind that gets very, very soon and puts that in the
Yes,
physical sensation. But
absolutely. Yeah.
it's very close. It's like I can't really separate it from the physical sensation.
Mm, that's good.
Like
Good.
there
Yeah, I
is
like
this
that. Yeah.
sensation that gets labeled as shame. I can see that there is a bodily reaction and there is a thought that says you're not good enough, you're inadequate, and so on. But even in the physical sensation, there is a non-pleasurable component, and it's so close to the physical sensation that it's hard to not misunderstand it
Mm,
as a physical sensation too. Like both
yeah,
are
yeah,
physical
yeah, yeah.
sensations.
Yeah. No, I say that that's good. And I say that sincerely. It's really good that you have that difficulty in separating those things. Don't try and
Mm,
separate them, right?
mm,
It's really weird, but listen to this one. This is a strange one. When you get into the really subtle details of that sensation, you can't say it's pleasurable or unpleasurable. It doesn't work.
mm,
It's a sensation at that level w- it can't be described as pleasant or unpleasant, right? It's it's the story that you add to it that gives it that. It's the
mm,
story that you add to it that gives it meaning of any kind. That when you call it shame, that's because of the story that you add to it. Right? If you were to dismiss the story, if you could, and I'm not saying you can, but if you could dismiss the story of shame, you would find a story of guilt. And if you dismiss the story of guilt, you would find just a sensation. But you would also see where it originated. And so what I'm saying is at that level beyond words, beyond the ability to describe the sensations, where you can only experience that sensation, those stories drop off and you're left with just experiencing sensations that can't be categorized at all. Now that's at a very deep level. So you'll start off with it's a rod like my spine, and it starts here and it feels like that, and it happens when. See, it happens when your father or somebody in authority talks to you in a certain way. And that's where the story of shame comes from,
Mm.
because of your the stories you have about what that means. Right? Now that's not to say any of that is not the way it has been for you, but the way through that is for you to experience the purity of the sensation beyond what can be described, but it can be experienced. So you can feel it, and if you can feel it in enough detail, it becomes like you, imagine that you're trying to tell me what chocolate tastes like, and I've never ever tasted chocolate. It's an impossible task. You can use words like sweet, but I don't know what that means because I've never tasted chocolate. Right? You can use words like the texture in your mouth, but I don't know what that means either. I have to experience that to have my version of your experience, and it's my version, not your version. So this is the level that we need to get to when we're looking at that sensation, when we're experiencing that sensation at a level that cannot be described, cannot be defined. It can only be experienced wordlessly. And at that level, the stories drop off.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But when they drop off, they don't just disengage, they lose relevance.
Mm.
And you start to become free of them. Just having the experience of being free of the stories, they'll come back. Usually they will. Less and less and less as you each time you experience the pure sensation. Yeah. And I'm imagining by looking at you that you know what I'm talking about. You can
Yeah, yeah.
you can
I'm reading
experience it.
this book by Greg Good. It's
Yes.
called The Direct Path. And there are all these experiments, and I'm doing them one by one with the
Yep.
body and looking at an orange and
Yeah.
smelling the orange and
Yes.
feeling the orange. And I'm with the body too, the body as a feeler, the body as a container. And
Yeah.
yeah, the more you get close to this, to what appears, the more like all the labels lose
Yeah.
meaning. All
Drop
the
off. Yeah.
labels,
Yeah. Yeah.
they don't capture. They labels look like very. Very raw, very inadequate, very
Very superficial. Yeah.
superficial, yeah.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
still, with the very strong feelings, like for in my case, shame. It's like sometimes it's like it's too much activation, simply without any kind of label, even without being labeled as shame, even and like the label shame looks very obvious, obviously just a label. But even if I remove the label, just the physical activation,
Yes.
even without using words, it's sometimes it's too much.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah. I get
very,
that. Yeah.
and
Yeah.
the body doesn't want to stay there.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah. So that's the nervous system
mm, mm,
that's been trained to do that and been conditioned to do that, and part of that is an attempt to escape. Right. So underneath that shame there is that guilt, and we don't want to experience that guilt. So we want to escape it. And the body takes over and produces reactions to you that you have to pay attention to
mm,
rather than experience what's underneath the shame. So it's perfectly reasonable. Now that will happen until it stops. If so, when you stop, don't fight it. When you allow it to be there and get into the sensations, it's like with the exercises you're doing with Greg Good's exercises. They're all designed for you to discover something. So you make a realization about labels. Now you've already done that. You, from what you've said, I've got that. You've already
Mm-mm.
recognized that labels are added to and that they give things meaning. Right?
Mm.
And it's the same. Shame is a label. It works. It works when it's been activated. But do you get that? There is no shame in you until it gets activated.
Mm-mm. Yeah,
Right?
yeah.
When you're not feeling that, it doesn't exist. When it gets triggered, when the circumstances are there to trigger it, then that potential for shame gets activated, and then your experience is one of shame. And if you can sink into the feeling of what it's about, and remember, a feeling is sensations with a story attached to it, right? But so you get into the feeling of shame, and you're not fighting it. Even if it feels a bit overwhelming, you're allowing it to be there. Then, as you get into the sensation component, the stories will weaken. They'll right? We're not trying to do anything with them. We're not trying to push them away or deny them. We're just recognizing them, but we're moving our focus to the sensations each time, and those stories will start to dissolve, and you'll be left with just the sensation. And then that really weird experience of that sensation that can't be described as pleasant or unpleasant, right? But it's full. It's definitely
Mm-mm.
something, but it can't really
Mm-mm.
be defined, right? Then that's where you'll find that the stories will drop off. And each time you do that, the stories will weaken.
Mm.
You don't have to find the origin of those stories about shame and guilt. You don't have to find the origin. You know that was programmed into you when you were very young. It's obvious, is it not?
Mm-mm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And when you were very young, you were also naive, and your perspective was very narrow. And what happens with kids is they blame themselves for what goes on around them, and they feel guilty about that. But guilt is really hard to live with, but shame is a lot easier. It's not pleasant, but it's a lot easier to live with than guilt, because shame is where identification happens. Shame is when there is a person to be shameful. Well, there's no actual person there to be shameful, but it's an experience that occurs because of conditions that gets triggered. So you were brainwashed at some point and told that you were a certain person, a certain kind of person, you're a bad person or whatever, and you believed it. And then that became part of your story about you. So do you get that David has a, a book full of stories about himself that he's collected since he was young? What he
Mm-mm.
likes, what he doesn't like, what he looks like, how he responds to this and and so on. There's no end to that book. It's a thousand pages, chapters
Mm-mm.
on everything and so on.
Yeah.
And that they none of those are actual, they're just conceptual. But when we respond to them, it gives us a certain experience. And that experience is the identification, the experience of a self. So it's the response to the stories or the things that we believe about ourselves that gives us a sense of self, not an actual self, just a sense of self. And then we carry that around as identification. I am a shameful person. Well, you're not a shameful person. You know
Mm.
that being there has a shameful
Yeah.
experience sometimes. But then when we look at it, yeah, shameful doesn't really, it's kind of okay, but it's really, it's these sensations. How you've how you experience shame isn't the way other people experience shame. You know, somebody else might feel it in the throat or the neck or the head or somewhere else, but
Mm.
you have this rod that happens for you. Yeah.
And sometimes it's very clear that they go together, the thought of shame and the reaction of the body. And
Mm.
sometimes the reaction appears first and then the story comes later. And sometimes it looks like it's the story that appears and activates the body.
Yeah.
And they like activate each other.
Yes.
Um,
Yes. Yeah,
but
very
but
much so. Yeah. One will give the other validation. Yeah, they back each
but
other up, and it's circular.
yeah. Yeah, yeah. When it catches up, it becomes like a loop. But when it appears, sometimes it's a physical reaction and then a thought, and sometimes
Mm.
it's a thought and then the body reacts to the thought.
Mm.
So they can each one can be the first to appear, and then the other one will follow.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
And but that's even without the story. Even if it's just one thought and then the body reacts, or the body activates and a thought appears. It's like they don't even need a story anymore. They just
yeah,
appear
yeah.
and
The
they,
way
they,
the
they
way I
support each other. Support
yeah,
each other.
the way I
Even if
put it is that
because at this point it's very clear that yeah, there is an entire encyclopedia of stories about this David character. This thing gets seen
yeah,
very quickly,
yeah,
but still there is this activation, this reciprocal activation between one single thought, one single, even if it's not fully formed, it's just I don't know the word the shame coming up or the word. Uh, you need to face this comes up. It's just a very short thought, and then the body reacts, or the body reacts for no activates for no reason, and
yeah,
then one
yeah,
single thought. It's just this team between
yeah,
the
yeah,
physical
exactly. Yeah,
reaction and the
yeah,
thought.
yeah. The way I would put it is that there's always stories underneath it, but some stories no longer get narrated. They get hardwired into the body, and we just
Mm,
know them, right? So,
mm,
but it's always going to be triggered by circumstances or conditions, right?
mm,
So you might just have to a tone of voice that somebody uses might trigger it for you, or the way somebody looks, or certain circumstances. You know, go into your parents' house and it will
mm,
get triggered for sure. You know,
mm,
all these things happen, right? So the what I would suggest is a good value for you is for you to take it to the lab is the phrase that I use, right? So
mm,
what you'll do is you will go somewhere where you can be by yourself, and you will think about feeling that shame, and that will activate
mm,
the experience, but you don't want it too big. You don't want to be overwhelmed by it. You just want to be able to experience some of the sensation that you call shame. And when you do that, you then practice looking at the pure sensation, right? Allowing the stories to go into the background and just look at the sensation in the body. Where is it? What does it feel like, etc. Really get into the details of that sensation, and that will decondition the old the old
Yeah.
triggers. Yeah.
Yeah.
Then what you'll find is, and so you we in the beginning, it's we can get overwhelmed very easily, and so it can we kind of can only respond to that with not wanting it. It's an unpleasant
Mm-hmm.
experience. We don't want it. We want to get you to the point where you look forward to the next time it happens, so you can practice going in and
Mm-hmm.
looking at the sensation, and it will just it'll thin out. It'll get to the point where it
Mm-hmm.
doesn't happen like it used to. Yeah. So you know
Mm-hmm.
now, and you can experience, if you can have the thought, oh, that might happen to me, or that did happen to me, without actually getting having the experience come back. And so you don't feel that all the time. It's not with you 100% of the day. It's only there when it gets triggered. Now, it might get triggered frequently, but that will thin out as you welcome it as an opportunity to look closer at what the sensation component is. You want to experience that in its purest form, beyond what labels can do justice to.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, this body, like it went on for more than 40 years for this body like this. So
Yeah,
it's very automatic.
yeah,
It's very conditioned.
yeah,
Like, and it has become so much more evident after the shift, after the first shift, and like I am sure that it was there even before, and like even more frequently maybe, but I simply didn't notice it before
yes, yes,
really starting to look into that. Like it maybe got activated as frequently as now, but it wasn't noticed. It wasn't looked
right. Yeah,
into, and so now that I'm looking into it it looks like it's more prominent, more present, but
yeah,
it's the same conditioning that was there before. Now
yeah, yeah, yeah,
the
yeah.
only difference is that now I'm looking into it and now I'm noticing it
And
every
more
time the
than
body
that,
activates.
I'm imagining that it's more than just that. And one of them is that you're you don't have the filters that you used to have.
Mm,
Right. So
mm,
before the shift, you probably were so automatic in escaping from it that sometimes you didn't even notice it.
yeah.
Right.
Mm,
Whereas now it's much more obvious that that's what's happening. And so it's like it's wanting to clear up. It's wanting to be
mm,
let go of, to be exposed. Um, and so each time you experience that, it's a very welcome thing. As much as it doesn't have to be pleasant for you to be able to welcome it. It's just something that will thin out, very, very much thin out. You're more susceptible to it coming up now because you're not such a good escape artist as you were. You're not trying to escape it like you used to.
mm. Yeah, there's this thing that I've heard from Angelo Di Lullo. I think he says that these bodily sensations they're like life forms, little life forms that live inside, and they just want to move. They just want to exist and to move. Like and this image of little life forms living in the body, and they move here, and they just want to move. They just want to express themselves and move
Yeah.
and exist. And it's just letting them live. It's just letting them move, letting them exist.
But yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. But I want to say now, it's the way you made it sound. I don't imagine that Angelo was meaning that way, but I get
Yeah, or maybe I
something.
misunderstood
Yeah,
it.
well,
That's my
what I want to
yeah.
say is they're not there all the time. They're only there
Mm,
when they
mm,
get
mm.
activated.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, yeah,
they're
yeah.
only there as potential. They don't
Mm,
really,
yeah, 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 yeah.
yeah, you're
Yeah,
not a
absolutely.
container.
No, no, no.
And
Yeah, yeah. It's that they only exist in the moment you see them, you
yeah,
feel
yeah.
them. So
And
they
a way of describing it would be when you give them life, right?
yeah.
Now it's not that you're doing that consciously or willingly, but they come alive when you give them energy. And how that happens is when some stories, whether they're hardwired or whether they exist at a thought level, but when they get activated, that story is what gives them life.
Yeah, it's like they get activated for by no one for reasons that are beyond comprehension. It's like
Yeah,
they yeah, yeah, like you said, like the circumstances might activate them, but I can't really never know for sure. I don't
that's right. And
know
you don't need to know either.
the circumstances. I can't control them. I can't know them beforehand. I, I can't really know what circumstances, and it doesn't really matter
Yeah,
like what circumstances activate them because the moment I can't control them, I don't care what they really are because
that's
I
right.
can't
It
do
doesn't matter.
anything
Yeah, yeah.
without them, so it doesn't matter.
Do you answer me this one? This is a big one. Do you recognize that you were taught to be that way? You weren't born that way. You were taught to be that way, and it comes from outside of you in your experience was where you learned.
Yeah, when was very little, definitely there was, I think, a moment or a series of episodes, experiences,
Yeah.
and something changed. Because when I was very little, for example, I don't remember having this shame. It
Mm.
started at a later period. It
Yeah.
started
Yeah.
later,
Yeah.
maybe when I was around 4 or 5, I don't know,
Yeah.
around
When
that
you
age.
formed identity. Yeah.
Yeah. Like my first memories are of someone that didn't have this baggage, didn't have
Mm.
this reactivity in the body.
Yeah.
And so
Well,
yeah, yeah,
that's
definitely I can
excellent.
see that.
Yeah. So if you can remember before when you were spontaneous, when you were authentic, when you were a child unencumbered by an idea about who you were, that's fantastic to be able to remember that. You'll get back to that.
Yeah, I have these memories where I used to, I don't know, run to my mom or my dad and hug them without any trace of shame and like expressing love to them. And that changed over the years, even when I was very little, like 5, 6, 7, 8 years old. I began experiencing this kind of shame, this kind of
Yeah.
embarrassment. But I remember some years ago finding in the attic of my parents' house, I found like little messages that I used to write to my mom and my dad, like just saying I love you, just saying uh, nice things to them, and that is a memory of a David that wasn't experiencing this
Yeah.
kind of reaction in the body and those thoughts appearing. It was like a totally, uh, I would say, someone who didn't have this conditioning, someone
Yeah. Yeah.
who
Perfect.
was living in the moment, who was living.
Yep. 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 And you know that. that person is still in there.
Mm, 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 mm.
You know,
Yeah, yeah.
you know how to be that person.
I know it's in there. I know it's still in there. It's
Mm.
under all this conditioning,
Yep, yep, yep. And so,
and it's the same person that appears when the mind is silent. When the
yes,
mind is
yeah,
silent,
yeah,
it's the same. It's the same little baby.
yep, yep, yep.
Mm-mm. Yeah.
And so the child that learned to be ashamed just needs an upgrade of the software. We need to get rid of that virus that's in
Yeah.
there. Yeah.
Yeah.
And the thing is, tell me if this resonates for you. It will happen not because of anything we do, not because of any effort we put into it. It will happen because we invite it to happen.
Yeah, this morning when I woke up, I was still in bed, and for I think first time in a long time, like there were these memories of me as a little child, and I felt empathy for that little children, and it happened very spontaneously. It's like these images of me. It's like I hugged him. In my thoughts, I hugged him. I like started caressing him on the head, and yeah, I could see like how scared he was, how ashamed he was, and yeah,
Excellent,
I-
excellent. I love that. Yes. So I did
yeah,
I did a meditation about this that I'll send you a link to. If you're not
mm,
you haven't seen it already, eh?
no,
No, I'll send you a link. I'll email you
thank
and
you,
send you a link to it.
thank you.
And yeah, I think it will be very relevant for you because when you say that, you actually take me into that
Mm,
meditation itself. So yeah,
mm,
it'll be good. Yeah.
mm,
And it will be it is about upgrading that software. Yeah.
mm.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Lovely. Thank you.
it's I think yeah, it's about connecting with that little child, like
Yes.
connecting with him and staying with him and giving him maybe the love
Yeah.
he didn't receive at that time, and
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
Well, with this,
really feeling him
yeah. So this
growing.
meditation, you will what we will want you to go back to not to the innocent little child, but rather to the child that's beginning to be corrupted.
Yeah, the one that is sad. Yeah, the one that
Yes,
is
that's
already
right.
sad,
Yeah. Yeah.
already shamed,
Yeah.
already.
And if we can get to that point where the transition is happening into that person, then it's
Mm,
very easy to change the perception, the understanding about the situation, because children have got a very narrow perspective on what's going on around them, and they blame themselves for everything that's happening. And so we can see that as an adult, and when we take it back to the little child and they can see it, right, all of a sudden you can bring that child back to an adult's perspective. That's good. Yeah, I'm quite excited about that one for you. I think that'll be good. Yeah. Yeah.
thank you, Vince. Thank you.
No,
You're
thank you for
awesome
being
as
here.
always.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Hmm. Turn your camera on, Dennis.
I've not seen Dennis for a year,
For a long, long time. Yeah, it still
9
looks
months or
like Dennis.
so. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey guys,
Hey,
Hey, Dennis.
been a long time.
how's it? It feels like a week.
Yeah.
Still the same familiar faces and some new faces.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're looking well, Vince.
I am feeling good. Yeah. Yeah. You've put on a little bit of weight.
I've actually lost a bit of weight.
Oh, have you? Okay.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. So
Maybe it's this hoodie.
you're feeling fit. No, it's mainly the face I was looking at, but yeah, maybe
Mm.
my memory is not so good. Yeah. So how's life been for you?
Um, Busy, I'd say. Yeah, just busy doing life, you know. Um, and I've been listening to a couple of the talks lately. So I said I'd come back on. I don't really know why I've come back on, but I just said I'd come back on. So
Hmm. Oh well, that's good. Yeah. It's good to see you. Hmm. You don't need to know why. You don't even need to have a why.
yeah, yeah. I think actually, now that you've asked, I think I needed a break from it. I was doing a lot. I was on your talk. I was on this. I was on a few others, and it just became a lot. So a kind of break from it all was probably
Yeah.
a good thing.
Yep, for sure. Yeah. Yeah, we can get pretty obsessed with it and lose sight of what we're after pretty easily. Hmm. So would you say you don't suffer much these days?
Um, I no, I'd say there's still suffering here and there. Yeah, there's still a search. I'd say it's shadow work, if that'd be correct kind of thing to say about it. That there's shadow work happening. Yeah, seeing my conditioning, my reactions, the so-called negative things that we do in the world, or and in a way positive as well. Um, so I'd say yeah, the last while has been a lot of shadow work. Yeah.
So when you say that, are you saying that you've been discovering the origins of some reactions?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Um, I would have went on Angelo's retreat last year in London, Woldingham,
Mm.
and I got the opportunity to do some of that shadow work with Angelo, circling shadow work as he calls it. Um, and that definitely had an effect with kind of reducing and eliminating sort of anxiety.
Oh, good.
Um, and it was very straightforward. You're kind of just allowed in the space to feel exactly how you want to feel or do exactly what you want to do. And in my case, I just kind of wanted to kind of collapse into nothing and just disappear. Um, where others had, obviously very different things that they were experiencing.
Mm.
And it caused me to want to lie on the floor. And again, these sort of things you wouldn't do in day to day life because
Yeah.
conditioning and it's not acceptable. So in a space where everything's acceptable, I just lay on the floor, uh, and kind of went further and further into that sort of not existing. And eventually, I'm just jumping ahead, but eventually what happened was I began to sort of cough and choke, and I was choking and coughing, and I was still obviously aware, and this is just the body was
Yeah.
doing
Yeah.
something. And then the memory came, which I had been told already, but it wasn't in my awareness at that time. I remembered I was probably one and a half on a flight with my parents, and I was choking on a sweet. And so it was like the body was trying to clear that. And then after that session, my whole level of anxiety and fear and, which I'm remembering back would have been heightened through COVID, was, I don't want to say gone, but
Yeah. But
gone.
certainly thinned out. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Good
Yeah.
stuff. Yeah.
So that kind of stuff, doing a bit of TRE again and trying to kind of, yeah. So that's kind of an example of what I've been
Mm.
up to.
Good stuff. Yeah. And presumably what you're doing now doesn't have that anxiety in the background, so it's somewhat freer.
Yeah. Yeah. No anxiety. It's more when I'm close to something like that, it's more excitement, is a way I might describe it, as opposed to anxious.
Great. Yeah. Good stuff.
And I'm planning to do some more of that in the near future as well. So, um, and yeah, Angelo's retreat is in August again this year, which I plan to go on, all things going well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So,
Good stuff. Yeah.
but life's been quite busy, with family and work and just moving through life and seeing how I
Yeah.
am.
Yeah. Well, life is busy, isn't it? Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. Thank you, Dennis. Good. What a great update. That was lovely. Mm.
Does Marius come on here, Vince, much, or is he got his own thing going now?
No, Marius doesn't get involved in these groups anymore, or at least he hasn't for a while. But he does run some of his own, um, and he's doing some one-to-one work. So yeah, he's still pretty active. And he's kind of taken a slightly different way of looking at things to the way I do. So he he's very involved in his way of doing things now, which is good. Good stuff.
Yeah, I think when I was listening to the talks last week and this week, and I hadn't watched in so long, it probably would have been 8 months. And I just kind of got that heartfelt sense of there's Vince just doing his thing day in, day out, week in, week out. Just, it got to me a little bit.
Yeah, I was thinking that you probably heard all of this stuff I was saying over and over again by now. Yeah.
Yeah, well, but it was more the fact that you stick at it, you stick with it. You're there. You're like a when you're in the dark and you can't find your bearings. There's the Vince pillar. He's always there. So that's
Uh,
what it was like. And I actually came on a talk, I think it was the other, I can't remember, a couple of days ago, but I got the times all wrong. I had to update my calendar with the times because they were off. And then I think they're going to go off again with daylight saving changing
yeah,
tonight.
yeah.
But you weren't on, and I was like, oh Jesus, Vince is gone. And the mind was doing all sorts of things. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, that's going to change. And I think it's the 2nd of April. I think it changes here. And
changes here tonight. Yeah, so that'll change twice then.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, but we go back. Our clocks go back, and yours go forward. I'm imagining.
forward.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So we should end up much the same place. But you can go to the website, and they've got the counters
yeah.
on that. So that's a good, easy way to do it. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So do you do it at the same time then, Vince? The same time at where you're at when the
Well,
clocks go back?
I, 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 I have to look at that because,
It's very late for you.
yeah, well, some people, yeah, I don't want to exclude anybody, and so if when my clocks go back, it's like everything's an hour later for me here. Is it two? And the clocks. I just have to check what time it is in America and in Europe when those things happened. And but yeah, if I do it the same clock time that I've got, I think it should end up being the same time for everybody after theirs goes forward and mine goes back. So there'll be a bit of an adjustment period, but yeah. So I'll at this stage the intention is to keep the same time, but I'll have to look at what time it is because even now some people in America are here at like 5 a.m. their time, depending on which one they turn up at. Yeah, so we'll see. Yeah, yeah. I mean, I probably I've just repeated myself again and again and again and again, and maybe come up with slightly different stories and whatever. But what I'm buzzing on creating the stories and the songs at the moment, the stories and investigations and songs that I'm publishing on Substack. Um, and I'm just thinking today I got really creative and I ended up doing about 7 stories and investigations and songs in one day. So if I was to publish all of them now on a schedule, um, that would take me up to about the uh, roughly about the 12th of June. I'm so far ahead of myself with those stories that I'm thinking I might put the story and the song on the one day together. I know, and hopefully that won't be too much for people. Um, Otherwise, I'm, I've, I've the story, the last story I did today was number 51 of the new book. So I'm actually into book 7 now with 50 stories in each book. So there's 6 finished, even though they're not all published yet. Um, so that's 6 comes up to 300 stories, and I'm starting book 7, and I've got I think 3 in book 7 already. So 303 stories are out there at the moment. I'm thinking I should publish them
Amazon.
on Amazon or something. Yeah, I don't know about doing that, but yeah. But I mean,
Yeah.
I would have loved those stories when I was a seeker. They would have been really helpful to, you know, consider looking at different things. Yeah. Anyway, I'm feeling good about doing them, so that kind of keeps me going, feeling creative. Yeah. And the songs
You
I'm
could do a
writing.
book. You could do a book, Vince, when you get to 365. A
Well,
year in the life of a yogi.
no, just, but the stories are good. I mean, the ones I did today were on leaning into the future and distance. One's on distance, the illusion of distance, and each time I do a story, it kind of opens up a whole lot of other stories as well. There's so much to consider. Um,
Do you get your inspiration from these talks, Vince, for the stories, or did you just pop into
Yeah,
your?
mostly from these stories. Yeah, and it'll just be one line that'll stay with me, and then away I go on that one. Yeah.
Yeah, you look at your stories and then decide whether I want to watch the video or not, because I reckon it's based on the.
Yeah. Well, they're pretty loose, the relationship, and even I don't even know what to call the videos, so I just pick out something that comes, and it's if you might watch the whole video looking for what the title of the video was about, and not find it even sometimes. It's there. Yeah. Yeah. But hopefully they're useful. I get enough feedback to keep me going as well, though. Yeah.
Yeah, I think these days, Vince, I feel like I'm very subtly just waiting. Don't know what I'm waiting for, but I'm
Mm.
waiting.
Good. Yeah, that's good. And that's perfect actually, in that you're receptive to discovery. When you don't know what you're looking for, when you don't know what you're waiting for, then anything's possible. I like that. That's a really good open place to be. Mm.
Yeah, because it cuts the tendency to be for something or against something or for, so, that push and pull of life that. And now it's reminded me of that old poem where, the guy says, "Oh, I can't even remember it, but it's like the guy says, 'Oh, your son didn't have to go to war.' They go, 'That's great.' And your man goes, 'We'll see.' And then he
Yeah,
breaks his leg. He goes, 'That's terrible. We'll see.' It's that. It's that.
yeah, that's
Yeah.
a good one, isn't it? Yeah, yeah. It wasn't just that he was an optimist; it was that he saw all perspectives. Yeah. Mm. Mm. And what's that little cutie's name, Jenny?
This is Tony.
Tony.
Yes.
Mm.
Hello.
Oh, yeah. Hello,
Hello.
Tony.
She's telling lots of stories. Yeah. I just thought I'd listen while she's with me. You never know, might
Yeah.
work with what's going on, but it is going well, I'll have to say.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I won't take up time
Yeah.
for people.
Yeah.
Say bye.
Yeah. And she's going to teach you a few things. That's good.
Oh, I'm sure. That's another reason, I don't know, I've looked at the grandkids differently just to pay more attention to them and how they're living it and be
Mhm.
curious about that as opposed to so rigid with don't do that, do that, just letting them be. It's a lot
Yeah.
easier.
Yeah. Can't understand a word you're saying, darling, but it's great. Yeah. I
That's
love the
great, yeah.
tone of voice. Yeah.
And then I can tell her a bunch of gibberish she doesn't get, so it's perfect age, isn't it?
Oh, right. My dog would love that.
I do it apart, yeah. She'll talk and talk and talk.
Mm.
You got to wonder what's trying to be said, or if anything. It's just so amazing, like how
Yeah.
all these sounds can come out, and you can tell she's trying to say something
Yeah.
or express something.
Well, she knows what she's saying, probably. Yeah.
Amazing.
It's like when you first come on and start listening to Vince for the first time.
Exactly. What? You want to repeat that in English?
Yeah.
Good one.
Is that Oscar, is it?
I think that's Grover.
Oh,
Is
great.
that Grover?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's Grover from Sesame Street. Yeah, you'll keep them busy for a while, eh? You'll talk their ear off, won't you? Yeah. If only. Well, you know what? We were all there, right?
Yeah,
Just
absolutely.
having the grand old time with whatever's in front of us.
Yeah.
Head and nose, yes.
Yeah, the trap is to give it meaning. To say, well, this is what she's trying to do. Well, we've got no idea, but she's having a good time. And
Yeah,
is it just the expression that's valuable for her? She doesn't require a response.
you're right. Not at all.
Yeah.
Not at all. Like this morning when she woke up and I was sitting there, I grabbed a coffee and I noticed that my mind just wanted to talk to fill I'm like, what are you doing? You don't have to talk. But I caught it, like trying just to fill in. I don't know. It's like, just sit here with her. You don't have to talk. No? That was pretty cool. I caught it.
Yeah. And if she was alone, she'd probably still be doing it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Just that I always have to fill the air with something, it seems. But I'm getting from what you've been talking about and me listening to you a lot is that catching it is really good when you're catching the mind always wanting to fill space, right?
Yep.
Yeah. Because you don't need to. Mm-hmm. Like I don't even have to respond to her, but I do.
Mm.
Like you said, she doesn't need me to say yes or no unless she's asking for something, I think.
Mm. Mm.
You are watching. You watching? Yeah. She's very used to a lot of stimulation at home. Like a TV always on, and she has an older brother and a dog, and so it's always very busy
Mm.
and loud there. Not loud for me, but with her, just her here with her and I don't even put the TV on for her till later on to simmer her down a bit.
Mm-hmm.
But it's different for her. But she's adapting well.
Mm.
So I'm wondering. I'm going to be curious to see.
Yeah, they're amazing to watch grow up and change and how that conditioning kicks in with them, you know. I mean, it's already happening for sure. Yeah. But how she sees herself is going to depend a lot on how people respond to her. Mm. Mm.
Well, I'm going to get off, Vince, and to say thanks again for the clear seeing nudge again.
Thank you, Lorraine. That's been good. Yeah.
I'll see you later, guys.
Yeah.
Good night. Hmm. Well, I might go too. It's 20 to midnight here.
Oh, it's late.
Getting late. Yeah.
Well, good to see you again, Vince. I'm sure I'll
Yeah.
see you again in the
Good to see you,
future.
Dennis. Yeah. Yeah.
See you,
Davey.
David.
Yeah.
Bye.
Fine.
Yeah, I'll go
Bye-bye.
too because I have to go.
Yeah.
I have to go too. So thank you again, and see you next time. Thank you.
Okay. Good one. Yes,
Have a good day. Have a good night.
I will.